As TJ so aptly put it, there's always more to learn. With that in mind, let's go ahead and go over what we've got coming up for the rest of, or the majority of 2019. We do have some dates and stuff already in the can or set up for 2020, and I'll talk about those briefly. And then for those of you who want to renew your Mondo packages or get new ones or whatever, I think you're coming up for renewal if you want it or not, I don't know. I'm going to go through the calendar, and like I said, if this is your first go round with the Mondo package, I'll explain it just like I would a room full of people who aren't taking it for the first time, so you get it, and so you can see how I do offers now from a different set of eyes, right? So what we've got coming up is this coming May is our next Killer Influence 4-day Covert Hypnosis certification. Now, most of you had either CPI or Killer Influence before you walked in the room, so you're golden there, obviously. But for those of you who would like to take a refresher, for those of you who would like to get another deep dive into the realm of Covert Hypnosis, where we talk about how to engineer the environment, how to manage the spatial relationships between you and another person so you psychologically position them to like you more, how to amplify attraction skills, how to tap into a person's emotional wants and needs so that you can emotionally link them to the process you want them to do and have them think it's their idea. Go through the 7 distinct language patterns that cause people to believe everything you say and do what you want. These are all things that are the foundation of what we teach in Killer Influence, but then we go beyond that into exactly how to manage your environment, what kind of clothes, or we point you in the direction of where to get special technologies on how to select your wardrobe and things like that have a psychological impact vibrationally on the people that you're in. We'll talk about social hypnotic operators. We'll learn about the other applications outside of marketing for scarcity and reciprocity and consensus and commitment and consistency. These are all hypnotic processes and behaviors that society programs into you that when you flip the button, the behavior is automatic. And and those 5 principles are based on the work of Robert Cialdini, and we'll teach you how to functionalize and optimize that for real world influence. And of course we're going to send you out into the world to get free desserts and all kinds of cool stuff, right? You'll learn the Universal Persuasion Protocol, you'll learn an NLP meta programs and how to match a person's meta programs, and so you're always communicating in their language. You'll learn about embedded commands, you'll learn about quotes patterns, you'll learn about all these different cool linguistic techniques, but you're going to go beyond that. It's going to allow you to influence people anytime, anywhere, under any circumstances, for any outcome. And that's where we start. It creates the foundation for everything else that you guys are in the advanced classes now, so you know how many times we've had to refer back to those courses to understand what's going on here. So that's coming up in May. I would love to see you. We've got about 30, 40 people already signed up. We're going to probably cap it at about 50. Just because the last one was 80-some people, and my helpers needed help. So, and those of you who did help out at that last one, I appreciate you. Okay, coming up after that, in beautiful and exotic Larnaca, Cyprus, we've got our first. Is Cyprus its own country?
It is.
Yeah. I don't know if they speak Turkish or they speak Greek over there.
And the Greek. So
yeah, and I'm kind of like on the borderline, so I don't get caught in a border war or something. But I've seen the location and it's gorgeous.
It's beautiful.
And we'll be doing a 5-day hypnosis and hypnotherapy certification with an emphasis on techniques and technologies for the elimination of pain, instant and rapid adaptations, conversational hypnosis, but specifically on the building blocks of human personality. We're going to teach you how to systematically remove all of the person's generalized negativity. This is stuff that they've been carrying around that they didn't even know they had. We're going to teach you how to remove stuff that the body has reasons for holding on to so that it doesn't go away and come back. We're going to take that, we're going to teach you how to install very specific driver states inside of you so that you have these emotional traits inside of you that move you forward instead of holding you back. We're going to systematically change your internal dialogue and teach you how to change your client's internal dialogue so that when they listen to that voice inside their head that's always talking down to them, it tells them all the reasons why they can succeed instead of all the reasons why they can't. For those of you who don't know what I'm talking about, it's the voice that just said what voice. Okay? Mm-hmm. From there, we're going to take that, we're going to install these driver states, we're going to take all of that, we're going to systematically cleanse and purge the negativity from your history, the ones you remember consciously and unconsciously. We're going to drain all the negativity out of it, we're going to take all that energy and flow it into all of your positive memories, and then so that when you look back on the past, You only remember your past in ways that make you stronger, more confident, and move you forward in life. Once we've taken that, we're going to compress it down and we're going to move it to before your very first real memory and install it at the genetic level like a template that your nervous system uses as a guide to give you resources in times and trouble. Because remember, as you move forward through time and space, your neurology is constantly looking backwards at the past to make determinations about how to handle the future. So if we go back and we change what's in the past, how you handle future events that are similar or based on the past events changes automatically. Once we've done that, we're going to show you how to, through a process of deep trance identification, systematically install in yourself the traits, qualities, characteristics, and attributes of people whose skill sets or accomplishments you personally admire. So you can custom design your very own sense of identity and self. You'll get all the basic, you get all the things that you would get in a hypnotherapy certification without all the stuff you don't. Right? This will be and the level of skill that comes out of the Identity by Design training is head and shoulders of anything I've seen anywhere, even in my trainings. When people come in with knowing nothing and they go through this process, they come out like world class, in my opinion, in terms of the standards in the industry. There's always more to learn, but for some reason, there's something about the Identity by Design style that just installs the ability to do hypnosis anytime, anywhere, for any reason, under any circumstances, right into your neurology, and you can just express it, right? And you guys have proven that because you've literally, I'm sure everybody's had at least one ab reaction that came out of nowhere, and you dealt with it, right? That's reality. And if you don't have a training that's preparing you to deal with that, other than and the scene fades and you tend to your breathing and you put the dragon back in the box or the genie back in the bottle, you're in the wrong training. You need something that's going to prepare you for real world results or real world activities. And Identity by Design, in my honest opinion, and admittedly I'm biased, in my honest opinion, does that for you better than anything I've ever encountered. So I'm very proud of that training. And it was never designed, like I said, the ideology of that program is really funny because it started as an inner games workshop for aspiring pickup artists. But the change work that it caused in people was so profound that every aspect of their life changed. First time we tested it was on a 57-year-old divorcee who had just been raked over the coals by his ex-wife. I mean, he had literally had all of his money, all of his houses ripped out. She moved to France with her boyfriend and just trashed this guy's self-esteem. We put him through this process. He broke out in this massive sweat. And from that day forward, everything in his life changed. The people at work started treating him different. He started making more money. Women started noticing him more, or at least he started noticing women notice him, which is actually what happens. You actually get noticed by the opposite gender a lot more than you realize. But your level of self-esteem will actually impact how much of that you actually notice. Those opportunities are always there, but if your self-esteem and your sense of self and identity and deservingness isn't up to snuff, your unconscious will delete them from your awareness. So when that all changes, everything changes. So it's a great training, and I'm excited because I have never been to Cyprus. So and we've got about 35 people already registered for that, but I'm excited to do that. That's going to be May 27th through the 31st. From there, we're going to fly directly to the United Kingdom for our first ever 5-day Vibrational Influence Masterclass. Now, in my world, vibrational influence skills are advanced techniques. They're extensions of the trainings that you've gotten from Identity by Design or Killer Influence, specifically the state control modules, which is a prereq for everything we do, self-directed trance work, and advanced rapport and state and transmission, right? Where we're sending emotions and things back and forth. You must be vetted in that technology to get into any vibrational influence class. Because this one's a little bit longer, we're going to be a little bit more relaxed on that. So if you have any of my trainings, you'll get in, because we're going to review that stuff the first half of the first day. But after that, it's balls to the wall training like you're used to training with me, right? This training was a little bit different from because there's so much brain work that has to be done in the planning stage of your talk. But then once the talk is planned, you just pull the trigger. Did you guys notice that? Like once you got the brain work out of the way and you just got up to talk, like that's what I mean. Now, anytime somebody asks you to talk, you can just step on stage, right? That's what's cool about it. But a lot of it is everything you've got today in the past 3 days is based on those earlier trainings where you've learned how to do the rapport, you've learned how to do the state control, you've learned the 7 plus or minus 2 language patterns that just reprogram and activate your neurology. You've learned how to link all that, the things that you want people to do, to the things that emotionally drive them and have them want to do it, right? You've learned all that stuff. And now it's just an expansion. So in this class, we're going to go into remote influence. We're going to go into remote viewing, because some of you do know this, some of you don't. But I was at one time the president of the American Association of Remote Viewers. I served in that capacity for about a year, and I learned the original Stanford and DID protocols. Is it DID or DEA? I can't remember. Anyway, protocols for technical and coordinate remote viewing, specifically coordinate remote viewing. And so we'll be teaching applications from that, and then we'll take that foundation and we'll teach you how to do remote influence. And this is where we can actually, from across the room, ultimately from across the planet, if we want to, literally raise and lower people's blood pressure, their body temperature, their heartbeat, and you'll actually be able to objectively measure. We'll actually when you partner up, we'll actually hook you up to machines, and you'll take baseline readings, and then you'll separate, and you'll start, knowing who you're working with and what you want to do, and the other person will know what they're trying to do, and then you'll gradually become more and more blinded, where to the point where you're working with somebody, you don't even know who it is you're tasking, and the person doesn't know what character, what trait or attribute you're manipulating. And sometimes you'll draw a chit from a random chit from a box or whatever, and it'll say raise the blood pressure, lower the blood pressure, raise the body temperature, or lower the body temperature, do nothing. Right? So we try to minimize the effect of actual suggestion or placebo, even though it's kind of a misnomer because everything is placebo, right? But so you can calibrate. We'll teach you how to get rapport with not just people, but elements, vibrational elements. The elements of our universe, fire, water, air, earth, have a frequency range that is pregnant, for lack of a better word, with information. Information that you can access and manipulate if you understand the rapport skills you learned in Killer Influence or CPI. We're going to show you how to do that. We're going to show you how to work with those energies the way the Taoists did, the way the Ayurveds did, and the way the Hermetics did, and show where they all integrate, where they all overlap, so that you know what's the same. We're going to give you the specific drills to develop that ability in yourself, and then we're going to set you loose on each other to actually create phenomena, how to make yourself heavy, how to make yourself light, how to amplify your body temperature just by a certain breathing pattern or a sound that you make, right? These are all things that, this is one of the components that's largely left out in a lot of our Qigong exercise that are health derivatives or whatever. We talk about fire and we talk about these things, but they don't tell us why it's important to develop them. It's important to develop because those elemental correspondences build your energy body. They make it stronger, more robust, so it survives after you transition. It also, as a byproduct, makes you more charismatic. When you start building these energy attributes, you start clearing out all of your negative personality traits, you start amplifying your positive personality traits, and so you become your best self. You become more self-actualized. You evolve your neurology, is what I like to call it. That's really what Hermetic practice is, which Taoism, or the Taoist, esoteric Buddhism, the Druidic stuff, the Egyptian stuff, the Hawaiian stuff, it's all based on this core set of principles that are universal. And once you understand the principles, you can reverse engineer this, which is what I've been doing. From there, those things will amplify everything you already do. They will amplify everything you already do. They will make you more powerful, more influential. The universe will literally align itself because that connection that you have to the non-local grows stronger. Okay? Now, you don't have to believe me. Just do the training, and you'll understand. We're going to, in line with manifestation, I'm also going to teach you what I call the ultimate manifestation method, which some of you know of as image cycling. We're going to go very deep into how that process can be used in other ways and how it relates, because there was a whole bunch of epiphanies that I had after I learned how to use that particular image cycling process for manifestation and healing. But we're going to teach you that. We're going to teach you the Reiki system so you understand how that works. We're going to teach you DNA theta healing, which is all about where they're in the inverse of each other. Reiki is where you bring a higher level energy down. Theta is where you take the person up to that frequency and you literally command a healing and watch it happen. It's very cool. But they're very much the inverse of each other. You learn how to compare and contrast that with things like the Pranic healing model, which is more like energy surgery. Right? A pranic healer is going to scrape out energies, he's going to put other energy in, and it's a very conscious process. Right? Very, very different, but he's still channeling energy from one place to another. And then, of course, you'll learn about the Qigong model, which basically I call the Duracell model. Qigong models, as a rule, treat the human being like a big battery. You suck up all this energy and you hold on to it, and when you need to use it, and then you replenish it. The problem with that model is that if you use too much of the energy and you haven't replenished it, you drain yourself, but also the back pressure from the energetic healing actually causes those healers to become more susceptible to the diseases they treat. And a lot of those healers, because they do too much healing, they actually wind up contracting. Like if they're specializing in cancer, they'll wind up with cancer. Right? Now, it's not that model is bad. Every model has its pros and cons and are better for certain things. Right? And we'll show you how all of that fits into the scope of the Hermetic system that we're using. And we'll show you some stuff that's unique to the Hermetic systems that aren't directly encompassed by those healing modalities. We'll teach you how to do that one-on-one. We'll teach you how to do it from across the room. We'll teach you how to do it from across the planet. I'm going to teach something I have never taught before. This is one of my personal things. I've been a practitioner of mudra-based yogic practices for close to 10 years, probably longer than that. I have been researching a very specific mudra-based practice for most of my life, since I was a teenager. And it's from Bujinkan Ninjutsu. It's called the Kuji-Kiri or Kuji-In. And it was called the 9-syllable protection method. It traces its roots actually back to early Taoism, but it was the connections were kind of lost over time. And so what I've done, I spent the last 30 years reverse engineering that system so I can understand how it works, how you can tap into these 9 powers. One is, for pure physical, mental, emotional, and psychic strength, how to channel and adapt and control the energies around you, how to harmonize with your environment and literally get in flow states and be able to influence people, how to develop your precognitive abilities and sense things that are coming before they happen, how to develop your telepathic abilities and your ability to know what people are thinking, how to tap into the non-local universe and extract information that's beyond the confines of time and space, how to manifest things. This goes hand in hand with that Bankston system, the image cycling system I was teaching you. And finally, how to actually be psychically invisible to your enemies, how to literally not be noticed if you want to do those things, right? That's what the system, that's what each of the big pieces are, and there are practices for each of those. And when you put them all together, if you just do the sounds that go with them, it's known as the Kuji Goshinho, Kuji, the 9-syllable self-defense system. And it's a mantric process. When you put the mudras with it, it becomes the Kuji, Ketsu-in is what they call it, I believe. Ketsu is a Japanese word. It means seal, hand seal, basically. And so when you put all these things together, you get a very powerful metaphysical evolutionary, it evolves your neurology. Just like I'm saying, everything we do evolves the neurology. But now we're going to show it to you from a neurological perspective, what these things are actually doing, how your hands take up more space or more real estate in your brain than any other part of you except your eyes. So when you start channeling energy and you create these different pathways, that energy flows in those pathways and you get more neuroplastic, you develop those pathways, and as you expand and develop your energy body, your physical neurology starts to evolve as well. Your perceptions start to shift and really cool shit starts to happen, right? But don't believe me, just do the training, right? The one thing about all the mudra work I'm going to show you is that they don't let you do anything. They make everything you do powerful. You understand the difference? Like, I'm not gonna do a mudra and all of a sudden a pillar of fire is going to rise up out of the thing. But If I'm doing like my martial arts energy work that we're going to teach you how to use energetics for self-defense, we'll teach you about pressure points and polarities. If I can build my rapport with the fire energy and I grab you on a metal point or a water point or a wood point and I attune with fire, I'm going to cause more damage to that system than if I'm just a normal human being. So I'll get more bang for my buck on the techniques that I do apply. Does that make sense? And it's amazing how fast this Kuji stuff can actually transform your ability to manifest things rapidly. So I've never, ever taught that. You can ask Zach. He's been around. This is from my martial practices, and it translated over into my magical practices. But I spent over, like I said, over 40 years reverse engineering this shit because you can't get the whole thing anywhere. It's all fragmented. So just like everything else I'm sharing with you, in that 5 days. So if that's something that's interesting to you, I invite you to come out to Peterborough for 5 days. I'm also going to show you some other things that aren't the Kuji based, but they're also Mudra based. There are certain Mudra positions that will actually make you more intelligent as time goes on, that will eliminate fear and make you more courageous. There are hand mudras that will make you more hypnotic. Those are my real secret ones. But I'll show them to you, and I'll teach you to them, and I'll point you just like before. I'll point you at the books if you want to go and follow up on me or do whatever, okay? But that's my intention for those 5 days, is to just indoctrinate you into all of this stuff. We'll show you how to enter people's dreams, install suggestions. I don't do remote viewing. Oh, sorry, I don't do astral projection. I do remote viewing. I don't do spoon bending. But Zach does. And he's going to be there, so I may have him teach spoon bending or something like that. What else do I teach, TJ, at Vibrational Influence that... Yeah, that's the interesting thing. Vibrational, 2 years ago, this is where it got really funny. 2 years ago, I started, and I'm always hesitant about teaching Vibrational Influence, because the field is so full of charlatans and frauds and people who use suggestion in place of actual energetic phenomena. And you'll understand why both are important and why one is weak without the other. And you'll see how to remove pain, suffering. All the things you see us do in our other classes will take on a much deeper significance. All the techniques in the Identity by Design silo, when you go through this course, you'll learn all about chakras. You'll learn about how to clear chakras, the anatomy of a chakra, how to gauge chakra spin, diagnose them, fix them. You'll learn all that stuff. And you'll test it. You'll actually do it. You'll actually get results with that. Okay? It's all hands-on. And that's what's going on. Oh, that's what I was going to... Another thing I haven't taught. I call it speed Qigong. There's a 30-minute Qigong practice that is a distillation from one of the most effective Tai Chi systems I've ever studied, and it combines mudra, and actually there's a process that actually rapidly builds up your internal power, and I'm talking about Jing, not Qi. Okay, I'm talking about like mojo, right? It's a Qigong system, and then we use that to fuel a lot of our other techniques. So if you're a martial artist, this will make you a more powerful martial artist. If you're a hypnotist, this will make you a more irresistible hypnotist. Okay, if you channel that energy into your mudra positions, you're going to get a bigger overall effect. So I've never taught that to anyone either, right? I don't know if I'll ever do a 5-day masterclass again, but since I'm doing 5 days, I'm going to just kitchen sink the group, right? Just to say I've done it and I don't have to do it again, right? Okay, so for those of you who want to do that, if you've got a Mondo slot left, when would now be a good time to join in? If you don't, when would now be a good time to get one, right? I do other vibrational classes, but they're always a 3-day, and they're never as in-depth as this. And I don't think I will ever do this again, at least not for another 3 or 4 years, because I'm cycling through my trainings, and it's UK's turn for Killer Influence, but doing a 3-day in Peterborough isn't worth most people's effort, so I made it a 5-day, and I just added a whole lot more stuff. So if you really want the whole full course meal, come and play with us. I'm going to be there. I ain't got nothing else to do. I'm going to teach you martial arts as well. I'll show you how the energetics of your body changes by how you stand. And then if you make a sound while you do it, they drop to the floor. So for those of you who are smaller but want a way to, you can do this with your acupuncture. If you do a fire sound while you're needling a fire point, you'll amplify it, right? But I can use it for self-defense as well. So these are all the things that we'll be covering. And we'll make it all, we'll demystify everything. You'll almost never hear me say aura. You'll almost never hear me say all those weird woo-woo words, except in a disparaging way. Not that it's not real, but we can't point to an anatomy book and say this is where your aura is. But I can point to an anatomy book and say this is where your proprioception is. This is where your autonomic nervous receptors are. These are where your mirror neurons are. And everything we're teaching has the effects of magic, but it's really based on neurology. In fact, I'm going to call the course Neuromagic, because it's based on our understanding of the neurology, and at least the model I'm working with. I've been pretty on so far, so I'm pretty hopeful, right? Anyway, that's what's coming up June 7th through the 11th in Peterborough. August, we got a big month coming up in August out in Las Vegas. In August 2019, we're going to be out in at the Orleans Hotel and Casino for 9 days of intense world-class hypnosis training. We're doing a 3-day Killer Charisma, Forbidden Secrets of Covert Hypnotic Influence. This is not Killer Influence. This is a much different well, not a much actually it is a much different puppy. This is going to be a training for beginners to advanced on covert hypnosis, much like our original core Killer Influence course, but then we're going to deviate into some very powerful other aspects. We're going to talk, just like before, we're going to talk about the 7 stages of persuasion, the Universal Persuasion Protocol, Echo Technique, how to make people like, love, and trust you in as little as 20 minutes, how to link everything you want somebody to do to their emotional desire to do it, so they want to do what you want them to do. We're going to talk about spatial hypnotic operators, meta programs, DRTs, but we're not going to spend as much time on those because we're going to jump into something that's even more powerful, and that is what I call attraction psychology. There's been a lot of research over the past 30 or 40 years as to how antisocial persuasion experts hack the psychology of attraction to cause people to become hyper-suggestible. And I managed to get my hands on some really powerful information that synergizes really, really well with our Killer Influence training system. And so you can consider this your defense against the dark arts class, because we're going to teach you everything you need to know about how to influence people covertly. And then we're going to show you these this five stage system that social predators use to pardon my French, to mindfuck good people. So you can learn how it's done so you can protect yourself against it, and then use it in your benevolent way. There's no world domination class, Zach, I'm sorry.
I'm still developing.
Right? But we're going to teach you that as well. So we're also going to teach you some stuff about negotiation and how to protect yourself through what I call renegade reframes. How to rapidly change people's beliefs or obliterate objections in normal conversation. So we're going to be taking data from our CPI 3 class, which is all about conversational reframe and overcoming objections. We're going to teach you how the FBI, CIA, and all kinds of crisis negotiators hack persuasion technologies and incorporate that in there. We're going to teach you the attraction psychology stuff that nobody's teaching. We're going to show you how to hypnotize people anytime, anywhere, for any reason, completely covert without their knowledge. And most importantly, we're going to teach you something called the red flag system, which was developed by Wendy Patrick, which is a system that allows you to screen the people in your life to make sure they're not one of these social predators. The problem with a lot of the people who are the social predators out there, they've spent a lot of time in what we call proactive behavior. They've spent an outrageous amount of time psychologically profiling their victims and their marks. So they know exactly what emotional needs they're most hungry for. And then they change themselves to match that. Okay? And there's a 5-stage process that they use. I'm going to show you that process. I'm going to teach it to you so you can learn how to do it. Because if you don't know how to do it, you don't know how to recognize it. And if you don't know how to recognize it, you can't protect yourself from it. So that's the first thing that's going to happen. Then I'm going to teach you the red flag system, which is how when people come into your life that may seem like they just walked out of your ideal fantasy, you can know exactly how to screen them. It's a 4-stage system, flags, it's an acronym. We'll teach you that system. And so when you want to, you can actually personality profile people based on their social media and all these things and know if they're more likely to be what they say they are. Does that make sense? So if you like the 3 magic questions where you literally prime people to give you all the information that allows you to figure out if they're keepers or not, and while simultaneously, being attracted to you, this is the next step. Well, it's how to find out if they're really who they say they are. Which, by the way, if you're doing 3 magic questions, you have a pretty good idea because it gets harder to lie to you the longer they're in the 3 magic questions process, right? But we're going to combine that, and then we'll throw in the 36 magic bullets, which are 36 questions that when you bring them up in normal conversation and in the process of answering them causes the person to fall deeper and deeper in love with you. It's really it was discovered by scientists, believe it or not. I'll give you the whole story. But what they literally were doing is they were trying to find a way to study relationships in people who didn't have one. So they came up with this series of questions to facilitate a relationship so they could study other things. So it's like you're digging for gold and you strike oil, right? What they didn't realize when they created these series of questions was that the people who were doing this got so bonded, so connected to it, a bunch of them actually wound up getting married in as little as 90 minutes. They didn't get married in 90 minutes, but that was it is Vegas, but that's in the science. If you go to PubMed and you pull up the study, you'll see it in the abstract, right? And so it took me about 3 years to weaponize that into something that was actually useful. But if you don't believe me, some people back in the day, about 4 or 5 years ago, I guess when it came out, I'm not sure exactly when, they actually grabbed those questions and turned it into an app, right? Which you play as like a card game or something at a date. I've made it a little bit more conversational. I've grafted it onto the 3 magic questions protocol. We'll be teaching that out there too. So that's a lot for 3 days.
3 magic questions is lethal enough.
Oh, I know, but there's levels beyond it, right? So if you've liked the 3 magic questions, you'll love everything else. But you have to have the foundation. So it's also one of the reasons why we did this class as a killer influence variant, because on the end of the HypnoThoughts convention, which is HypnoThoughts Live Hypnosis Convention, is August 16th through the 18th, 2019. It's a 3-day convention. I'll be teaching 2 of the 3 days. And in addition to me presenting, there will be expert hypnotists from all over the world, high-level names presenting really cool stuff. It is by far the best hypnosis convention on the planet. It is well worth attending. There will be some luminaries there who I wanted to study with, but I've never been to HypnoThoughts before, like Doug O'Brien, for one, an expert in sleight of mouth and a lot of cool stuff. He was a trainer for Tony Robbins for a long time. He's written a bunch of books that are very popular. He'll be there for the first time. Mike Mandel will be there. Melissa Tiers will be there. I don't know if Marissa Peers will ever show up at a HypnoThoughts convention, but I'm sure she'd be a hit if she did. Who else? Richard Nongard. TJ will be presenting on audio and visual techniques and equipment. So if you liked what you got today over the weekend, if you aren't already taking him up on his offers to guide you through that process of creating your AV systems, when would now be a good time to get that done? Right? And finally, on the final 3 days after the convention, we're going to do Vibrational Influence, the normal curriculum, which is still really cool. We're going to teach you remote viewing, remote influence. We're going to teach you energy healing skills. We're going to teach you chakra work. We're going to teach you the vibrational, like the elemental sounds and positions, all the things that we would normally teach in our regular standard Vibrational Influence course. But it doesn't have all the mudra work and things like that. So if you want all that stuff, come to Peterborough, right? It's not that this course is bad. It's just, I got 3 days, and trust me, your plate's going to be full. But you'll be able to do some really cool stuff, right? And of course, once the doors close and I go around and say, what do you want to learn? What do you want to learn? What do you want to learn? Right? The curriculum might change a little bit. But the reason that but because Vibrational Influence in my world is an advanced class, and you need those core skills, the state control, the rapport, the self-directed trance work. We did the Killer Influence class in the beginning of the week so that people who want to come to Vibrational Influence will have those prereqs. And we actually have, for HypnoThoughts attendees, we'll have a 2-for-1 special that we're doing and stuff like that. Your 2-for-1 is actually a better deal, but they don't get that. So, but that's what we've got going on in the month of August. So if you're interested in those applications, what's wrong, little buckaroo?
I'm so depressed.
Okay.
Are you going to be putting those those trainings on your website?
Some of them will. We, like I said, well, actually, what we do for the HypnoThoughts crew is we try to keep the trainings from the HypnoThoughts world separate from all the other trainings. So the people who join the HypnoThoughts events get private access to all that content. So when you buy the HypnoThoughts sign-up package, which is different from your Mondo package, when you buy the HypnoThoughts package, you actually get the video of every single event we've done, every HypnoThoughts event we've done, both the pre-conferences and the post-conferences and all the breakouts I did during the conventions for the last 4 years. So everything we did last year, you get as a bonus, right? So it's a really, really stupidly good deal. Plus you get all the current, like these classes that we do here, they'll be in your members area too as an extra bonus for signing up. Like I told you before, HypnoThoughts is the one time of year where I kind of give more than usual. And so for those of you who've had that package before, it's awesome, right? And there's literally hundreds of hours of content for free that you get in addition to the live trainings, right? But that is different from our Mondo packages because that's a revenue share I do with HypnoThoughts and it screws up my bookkeeping. So if you want that package, I can register you for that package, but that's not included with your Mondos.
You honoured it last year with a Mondo.
What's that?
You honoured it with a Mondo.
Yeah, I changed my mind. I've learned my lesson from that. Because things are becoming more expensive for us. Like we're doing more international trainings than ever, and our margins are just shrinking. And in order to be able to continue to do these trainings, we need to evolve. That's why, don't tell Stephanie, but these got the old prices on them. We raised the prices after the last Identity by Design, but this has all the old prices. And if you email Stephanie, she's not going to give this to you. She's going to be pissed at me, so don't tell her. September coming up, we have our next hypnotherapy certification. This is real-world regression skills. This is both old school and new school regression techniques. Now, if you work in the health fields, if you're dealing with trauma, you need to be thoroughly grounded in regressive technique. You'll be learning both old school and new school, which is things like informed child, informed adult, chair therapy. You'll learn about abreactive hypnotherapy, where we're emotionally induced inductions, things like that. You'll learn all the things you would normally learn in a regular hypnotherapy curriculum, well, my regular hypnotherapy curriculum. So instant and rapid inductions, conversational hypnosis, pain control, direct suggestion, with an emphasis on regressive skills. The newer regressive stuff is more vibrational in nature, in that it works off an idea that the human nervous system is a holographic information processing system rather than just a film strip where you can go backwards and forwards and nothing else. And so we'll show you how to rapidly remove pretty much any trauma that comes along without the necessity for deep trance. In fact, if you can point to where you feel it, you pretty much can change it. But every now and then, you got to go old school. And nothing prepares you for doing the work under pressure, under highly emotionally charged conditions, than old school regression training, right? And there's sometimes when you got to do it. It doesn't happen that often, but it does happen. And believe me, there were times I was grateful that I had that level of technique. So we're going to train you in both for 5 solid days. And we only move through that class at the rate at which you can demonstrate competency in the material. But this, if you're going to deal with things like cancer, intractable pain, tumors, MS, Parkinson's, IBS, any type of PTSD, these are the skills that you want to have as your nuclear option. So if you're serious about doing that work, come to the September training. Okay. In October, we're doing our next real world NLP practitioner certification. It's an 8-day training, and it's 12-hour days. So when you come to the training, you will be balls to the wall training for a complete 12 hours. There will be a day session, there will be a break, there will be an evening session, wash, rinse, repeat for 8 solid days, and you will be amazed at what that, Giles can tell you. He's been to just about everything. He bought one of our platinum packages, so he got access to every training for the last 12 months. And they just keep getting better, don't they?
Yeah, that NLP one was pretty good though. That took some beating.
Right. Now, for most people, I recommend, if you want to follow, again, if you want to benefit from my years of training people for free and everything else I've watched, NLP should be the last class you take. Because I really do believe this, that if you're a good hypnotist, the way we teach you to be a hypnotist, you can walk into any NLP training and riff on any technique they show you. Okay? The best neurolinguistic programmers were always good hypnotists first. Okay? It's easier, it's faster, and it just makes your life, if you want more confidence in doing the work, be a hypnotist first. NLP fills in a lot of gaps and blanks and things, but it's a very, very dense training. The society says I have to accept anybody who comes in, and I will, but I do have my preferences. I strongly encourage you, if you want to be good at NLP, get one of our hypnosis trainings first. Get the live.
Influence worked really.
Yeah?
Well.
Killer Influence was a good one for you to do first?
Yeah.
Right. It will, because it's applied. It's like you learn to apply it all first and then go and read the textbook. And it makes everything fleshed out, but you have the actual real-world ability to go do stuff. And that's what we want. You have your whole life to read the manual, to buy another book. But you only have a limited amount of time to get as physically indoctrinated into these techniques as possible. And that's what we do. Real-world skills that you can take out the next day or that night and put them to work. So if that's something, and you will have the opportunity to have certified through the Society of NLP, and your certificate will have Richard Bandler's name on it. And you'll be able to go to any society licensed trainer and take the next level, or have your stuff actually matter. Some people don't care. I just want to hear, I want the training, I don't care whose name is on their certificate. My name will eventually be on the certificate, although I didn't realize there was a space on the certificate for me to put my name for the first 2 or 3 years. So I was just handing out certificates with Richard's name on it, and there was a blank where my name was, right? So if you've got one of those, hold on to it. It's going to be worth money someday. This is the certificate that David Snyder did not sign, right? So for those of you who like martial arts and like that aspect of it, we started doing this really as a favor to one of my colleagues in the martial arts world, Grandmaster Chris Thomas, and it became so popular that we're just doing it every year now. It's called Secrets of Internal Power Self-Defense Supercharger, and this is where we take all of our NLP stuff, all of our energetic stuff, we revert it back to self-defense and self-defense training, and you'll learn really cool things. You know, how many people remember the toothpick, where you could actually make people unable to pull your fingers apart? Stuff like that, where I can touch people and make them fly, make a sound, watch them pass out. Weird stuff, right? But you'll do it in a way that's fun, easy to use, and actually gives you the ability to actually protect yourself if you train them, right? I usually have 2 guest speakers. We're actually going to have 3 guest speakers this year. Grandmaster Thomas, who literally wrote all the books on pressure point fighting. He was one of the top guys to do the research that brought that stuff back from being lost. And he co-wrote all the books with Grandmaster Doman, and everybody who came from Doman who has written books, Thomas was a part of that lineage. So he's going to be teaching the vast majority. We'll be trading off. Another one of our trainers is Master Norm Johnson, who was a top student of Grandmaster Wally J, the founder of Small Circle Jiu-Jitsu. Most of you don't know who that is, but you guys all know who Bruce Lee is, right? Okay. Well, Bruce Lee used to wait on Wally's porch for him to get home from work, so they could go down into his basement and train. Okay? So we're real close to that lineage. And Norm is a great guy. He's funny. A little violent, but funny. Right? But if in terms of learning how to manipulate the small joints of the body, which is ideal for women, people who aren't athletic, the elderly, there is no better system than small circle jiu-jitsu. A 6-year-old can put a 200-pound man on the floor and keep him there. And I've seen it. Okay, and you'll learn how to do those things from Master Norman. You'll learn how to add the pressure points to it if you want to do all that weird woo energy stuff. I'll be teaching systemic work, systemic internal work, and speed hitting and things like that I got from Dr. LaTourette. And then finally, I just wangled this year. I'm so excited. Grandmaster Leo Fong will be teaching at the event. Now, if you know who Bruce Lee is, Grandmaster Leo Fong was Bruce Lee's #1 guy for 12 years. He's literally the guy that took Bruce Lee around to all the schools where Bruce Lee would beat up the instructors and say, "You don't know what you're talking about," right? And Grandmaster Leo is in his 90s, or his late 80s, early 90s. He developed a system of Qigong called Qifeng, which he's used to successfully overcome diabetes and other health issues and things like that. But his version of JKD is actually called Wei Kundo, and it's based around a boxing model. So for those of you who like the boxing type of an approach, that's where his stuff comes from. But he's agreed to come in and teach for a day, maybe longer. So I'm excited for that because he's one of the last few old school treasures in the arts, and it's a real connect. And he tells great stories. I love his Bruce Lee stories. So for no other reason than go and hang out and get your picture with Leo and stuff like that, it's worth it. So I'm excited about it. Again, it was something that I did. It was kind of part of it was ego, part of it was just wanting to hang out with some people. I wanted to do it to prove that I could, because all my brothers in the martial arts told me, you can't charge this much for a seminar, nobody will show up, blah blah blah. Well, I'm thumbing my nose because this is the third one we've done in a year. Right? Not even 1 a year. It's the third one in 18 months. Right? The first one was so popular we had to do it again 6 months later. So to me, I don't know that it'll ever be what we emphasize at NLP Power, but a large part of my students have an interest in these fields, and I believe that this rounds out your training. It gives you that physical component that many of us are lacking, and I think it takes your influence skills to a much greater. Yeah, well, if you can do it this year, it's in October, so October 25th to the 27th. So if you like that stuff, if it's not something you're into, don't come. Not all of my students, believe it or not, are into the martial arts. What was interesting, though, is that everybody who walked into our training was basically a newbie in the they knew nothing about martial arts. Grandmaster Thomas and Grandmaster Johnson were convinced these guys were advanced martial artists because they got it so fast. And I said, it's because I have smart students. Right? If you actually, so I want smart students. I want people who don't poo-poo things because it doesn't fit what they were taught, but are open and willing and ready to test, and can take them into their world and utilize them. So I'm very proud of the kind of students that we have, and for some reason you guys I think are meant to know these things. And that's why I think when you come to something that's as off the charts, like a martial arts training that I put on, you get it fast, right? And if you keep training it, Holly was there, Zach was there, TJ was there for a little while, you can ask them about it. I had a ball, right? And I always wore my Spider-Man underoos shirt. So.
I have to make some money.
All right. So coming back to, we always have options. The one that most people take is the Mondo Supremo I Want It All package, and included with that package are any two live trainings in the calendar, valued at $14.97. I think it's $19.97. Regularly priced $39.94. The seminar price would be $27.94. You'd save $1,200 on the Mondo package there. That's not the one you have. You have the big one. And any 2 real-world hypnosis courses valued at $14.97, you're going to get those for free. And then your choice of any 5 digital products valued at $97 or less, total of value of $485, you're going to get that for free. If you look at the total value of this package, you're looking at a total value of $7,473. If you want to grab that today before about 6:59 p.m., which is when we're going to close it up, you're going to get the entire package for $27.94. You're going to save well over $4,679. And the best thing about these packages is that you don't even have to pick the trainings right now. Once you have the package and you're in the system and you're in the database, You can go through your calendar, and when you know what trainings you want to come to, you just pick up the phone, call Stephanie, or you send us an email. We put you on the guest list for the training. You're locked in. And it doesn't matter what the price point of the seminar is. You may have noticed the price points were different on a lot, like the 8-day NLP training versus a 3-day Vibrational Influence training. Different price point, different duration. All that goes away. When you're on a Mondo package, you can walk into that 8-day training and take the full 8 days. The price of it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter if it's in pounds, doesn't matter if it's in euros, right? You can go to the Cyprus training, which is all in euros. You go to UK, which is all in British pounds, and do the whole 5 days. It doesn't cost you anything different, right? So it really does give you a very good economical advantage when you're choosing your trainings. If something comes up at the last minute that you can't attend, like Bernie was all set to come. 2 days ago, he emails me and says that there was a snafu with one of the businesses he works with. They changed their payout plan. He can't come because he's got to take on extra work. That's fine. We'll move you to the next one. Boom. He didn't lose it. It does not expire until you use it. So if it takes you 2 years to get back to a training, it's waiting for you when you're ready. You don't need to pick them. They're there waiting for you. It doesn't expire, and price points no longer become an issue. Okay, it's a really great deal. It's something we developed by accident. Once again, at HypnoThoughts, where lots of good things seem to happen, and you get to choose whatever videos you want, and that's where we're going next. If as you look at the next phase where it says, "But wait, there's more," right? These are all the video courses that we've done, all the video trainings. We turn them into live events. Now, my recommendation is obviously Killer Influence. You know about that. Stealth CPI is just the drill down on the 3-day conversational hypnosis training. The big distinction I want you to make between CPI and Killer Influence is about hypnotic operators, whereas CPI is all about language. So if you want to go deep into language skills and hypnotic language operators, the CPI system or funnel is where you go. When you want to expand beyond language, so you can hypnotize or position yourself psychologically in different, now you want to go into Killer Influence, because that's going to teach you about spatial operators and colors and environments and embodied cognition, where if I give you a warm drink to hold, you'll actually have more emotional warmth towards me than if I give you a cold drink to hold. So depending on what direction you want to go, that's the courses you would want to get. I always recommend you supplement your live training with the appropriate video set. Right? If you can't get to a course, then the video is a good second choice. But I would always, always, always recommend that you choose the videos that reinforce the live event you had. If you can't, or if there isn't one on the schedule, then, for instance, if you want to learn do the unlimited lover material, well, we haven't done an unlimited lover training in 5 years. So, and I'm not sure when we'll ever do one, if we ever. So if that's the kind of material you're interested in, if you want to go beyond basic attraction and into relationship and sexuality enhancement and things like that, then get the unlimited lover trainings. For those of you who love a lot of dense information, kind of like this weekend, where we just went really deep and there was still more to go, get the older courses, because the groups were smaller. And so we got to drill down very, very deeply into stuff sometimes we never get a chance to get to. If you like the most up-to-date information, get the newer courses, because that has the most streamlined, field-tested work in it. But because the groups are larger, we don't go as deep and cover as much material. If you're somewhere in between, pick as you need to. Right? A lot of these courses will be going away because we have other product in those funnels coming out. So the really information-dense ones, they may be going away relatively soon. So decide what you want before it's too late. Speed attraction is for those of you who are interested in attraction and relationship applications. The expansion on that would be unlimited lover. So this first speed attraction teaches you my approach to approaching, right? How to get your state right, how to do 3 magic questions, how to do echo technique, clothing, vibing, those kinds of things in a system that teaches you how to case a venue, figure out who's attracted to you, who to approach first, all the way up to getting intimate. And then when you transition from ready to get intimate to getting intimate, then unlimited lover material takes over, and then you learn how to custom create your own intimate relationships and things like that. So if that's something that you're interested in, just grab those as your video courses. If you're interested in erotic hypnosis or stage hypnosis applications, the erotic hypnosis stuff is always interesting.
that covers stage as well, does it?
Not in the way
I
that,
think I've downloaded it. I haven't watched it yet.
well, it's me doing a stage type hypnosis,
Right.
but it's more performance based. I'm not teaching you how to do stage hypnosis, although if you do like private parties and stuff, you can take all the material from the erotic hypnosis trainings and do a little private party. It's really cool. Yeah, it's fun. I've done that a few times, right? So that's kind of what it's about. And then down here you have, remember we went through all those videos on the meetup page? Well, the early ones, we recorded all of them, as you remember, and we turned them into products. Products that you can include in your Mondo Supremo package. So if you want to see all this, back when we were focused on hypnosis techniques and all the things that people want to learn about, you can grab these because we don't teach these anymore. Right? Hypnotic hot buttons, forbidden secrets of conversational hypnosis, how to get lucky for life. It's not what you think. Or maybe it is.
I remember that one.
Yeah.
I went
You went to that one?
It was so funny because the week, it was back when you were doing every week.
Yep.
And the week, we did this one, great. 3 people showed up. It was me and 2 others in the
Yeah.
And then the week after that was like something on, like, I think it was 3 magic questions.
Mhm.
We filled the fucking room. I mean, Lucky for Life was like how to generate, like how to be more lucky and all this
Mhm.
stuff. And then it's like, afterwards you're like, damn it.
Yeah. There's 5 psychological characteristics that all people who are naturally lucky share. It has nothing to do with metaphysics. Everything to do with perceptual filters. And if you understand the mindset and how to develop that attribute, you can increase your natural ability to have spontaneous serendipitous events. In other words, lucky breaks. And that's what this course was really about, was about teaching you those characteristics. And then if you have something like Identity by Design, you have these traits and these tools to go in and install all of them, just like you would install Relentless or Curious, just like you would go to your magic circle and install, you know, the kind to self and whatever the characteristics are. You have that because the first characteristic of lucky people is they identify themselves as being lucky, which presupposes that you have an identity that says that. But what if you don't? Well, you can change it. That's the whole point. These courses actually add more value to the trainings you've had because they give you more bullets for your gun. Just like when we teach the romance applications, there are 5 characteristics of the classic archetypal romantic hero. That when you install these traits in you, your entire life improves and you become naturally attracted to the opposite sex. Just by walking in the room. There's 5 of them. Romance writers have codified this. And that's why all their heroes are cut from the same template. Right? If you adopt these traits, there's a female romantic archetype as well, and they're different. If you read A Billion Wicked Thoughts, you'll get a little bit of an insight into those. So those 2 courses go really well together for those of you who are interested in those applications. Okay? So that's what we got. Obviously, Spiritual Power is our spinning and intro to energy healing videos and things like that. You can pick any 5 of them as part of your package. Is that cool? And again, you don't have to decide, you don't have to decide right now. Just, decide what you want before the end of the deadline, which is, I think, 6:59. And it's fine if you don't want to. It's perfectly worth it at full price. Right? But for those of you who know you're going to be around for a while, do the math. Right? Questions before we go on to more stuff? We have 15 minutes. I guess we'll end it now.